Give it just a moment for everybody to return back to their seats. Well, welcome to Unity of Tacoma. My name is Lori Irwin Johnson, and I'm the spiritual leader here at Unity of Tacoma, and I use the pronouns she and her. And so if this is your first time here, I'd like to welcome you. We all like to welcome you. It's so nice to see new faces each and every Sunday here at Unity. Also, I'd like to thank everyone who's been here before, all those loyal people who come back each and every Sunday to discuss, to pray, to connect, to just be together. And it's so nice to have you each and every Sunday. Today, my talk is going to be on the book that we've been studying for book study, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So we're going to talk about that in relation to how Unity thinks and how this book really does support what it is we believe here at Unity of Tacoma and what it is that we promote. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. I haven't been able to be at the book study, so I'm missing out on this one, but I would really got a lot out of reading it again, and I'd love to share what it is, my insights that I got from it as I reread it for I don't even know how many billionths of times I've read this book. So, but see, it's really inspirational, and each and every time I read it, it's just something that just reminds me of who I am. So, before we go into the talk, though, I do want to put out some announcements. We do have our book study, which is on Wednesday evenings at 6:30 p.m. And again, we are studying The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And so if you are interested in that and being part of that, I will put my email in the chat, but it's lori@unityoftacoma.org. And you just send me an email and say, hey, I'd like to be part of this book study, and I would be happy to send you the link. Even if you haven't read the book, even if you think that, well, we've been doing this for a couple of weeks, that's okay. Wherever you are, whether you've read the book, you haven't read the book, or you're halfway through the book, or you've read the book before, it doesn't matter. We invite you to come and be part of the conversation because we get something out of it each and every time, no matter where you are on your journey. So that's Wednesday evenings at 6:30 p.m. We meet on Zoom. I don't know of anything else that's really happening at this point. I know that we are looking at bringing sandwich making back to our community service. That's really exciting, and I know Victoria will have a update for us the next time we meet. But it's really exciting to think about us getting together again, to be able to make sandwiches for the unhoused, and then to also bring in other resources. And we'll be doing that once a month. So that's really great. And I do want to thank Victoria for all her work in getting this done and getting us a place to be again and to start this back up. And to Stanley, who is one of our workers who really is organizing this behind the scenes. We don't see Stanley on Sunday, but it's nice to know that he is working for us. And I thank him for that. And I thank Victoria for all her work as well. So next Sunday, we have music again with Stephen Plummer will be here next week. And our guest speaker will be David Elliott. So Reverend David will be back with us next week, and with Stephen Plummer. I will not be here next week, but I'm looking forward to watching the recording of David and Stephen. It'll be great to have them both here again. If there aren't any other, Curtis, where are you? Are you here, my dear? I don't see Curtis anymore. There he is. Well, he's here, but he's not here. So Curtis has a performance next week, I believe, that will be down in near his area. And so when he pops back on, I'll have him give us some details. If you hang on after the service, when we get together into our discussion portion, then we can get the details on that performance of Curtis and what he's going to be doing next week. So before we go on to our message, I'd like to go into prayer. I'd like to share the prayer for protection. I'm going to put that on the screen for those of you who do not know. the prayer for protection, and the words will be there for you. Let's say this together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. And wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So as we're sitting in this spot, in this place of prayer, let's just take a breath. And let's just settle into this moment. Allowing everything that we've been doing this weekend and the previous week to drop away. And as we sit in prayer, I'd like you to cross your hands over your heart. And with the hand that's closest to your chest, I'd like you to start tapping just lightly on your chest. And just say to yourself, I let go of all things that might be holding me back from my personal peace. Change hands, put your other hand underneath and start tapping with that one. I release anything that might be standing in my way for me achieving my personal peace. Take another breath. Stop tapping. And let's settle into this moment with gratitude. This moment of opening, awakening, and allowing. We're allowing what needs to be heard to enter into our consciousness, to envelop our hearts. And we're allowing ourselves to release what no longer serves. And we just are in this moment, exactly in the perfection and the imperfection that we are now experiencing, because it is not for perfection we're striving for. It's awakening. And in that awakening, perfection isn't what's there. Silence is what's there. The space where God is. So it's from this space that we listen. We open our hearts and we make ourselves available. And I take a moment of gratitude, thanking everyone here, thanking all of the things that brought us to this place, all the mechanisms that are going on in the background of our lives that we have either let go temporarily or have brought us to this point. It is by perfect timing that we are here today. And it's with gratitude again. We say thank you for all that we have and that all that we will receive. And so it is. Amen. And so now it's the point of our service where I share our affirmation. The affirmation will be on the screen. And our affirmation: I do my best with love, grace, and compassion. That is enough. I do my best with love, grace, and compassion. That is enough. Our reading for today is actually from Don Miguel Ruiz, from his website. And it was a question that I was asking myself last week when I needed to look something up. And I was like, this is kind of a sticking point for me. So I wanted to ask this question. And so the question is about, I want to be impeccable with my word, but I'm constantly drawn back into negativity. So if you are reading the book, you know that the impeccability with my word is the first agreement. So the question, I want to be impeccable with my word, but I'm constantly drawn back into negativity. How is it possible to let this behavior go and stay true to what I want to become? And so Don Miguel's answer was, the simple answer is that we need to practice the first agreement until we master the first agreement. Once again, practice makes the master. If you practice and keep doing your best, the first agreement will eventually become a habit. When impeccability of your word becomes a habit, you're going to be happy, just as you were when you were a very young child. If you're constantly drawn into negativity, how can you stop the internal dialogue? There are many ways to quiet the mind, and I encourage you to explore any number of ways until you find what works for you. For some people, meditation, contemplation, or listening to music can help. For other people, walking outdoors and surrounding themselves with natural beauty can help. You could try dancing, swimming, yoga, running, or any exercise. Just being active and doing whatever you love to do while quieting the mind. When you're absorbed in what you're doing, at that moment, you're not thinking, you're expressing, and the mind hardly speaks. There are so many things that we can say about impeccability of the word. But from my point of view, practicing the 4 agreements is the best way to quiet the mind. These agreements have the power to break thousands of little agreements that go against yourself. I'm going to say that again because I think this is important. These agreements have the power to break thousands of little agreements that go against yourself. But they're not as simple as they look. That's why it's important to keep practicing. Every time you practice the 4 agreements, their meaning goes a little deeper. If you read the book a second time or a third time, it seems like you're reading a different book because you've already broken many of the agreements that make you suffer. Now you can go a little deeper and a little deeper until the moment comes when your life is completely transformed. So as I was reading this again for the umpteenth time, I do feel and experience different things each time I read it. I get a different perspective. And this time around, the idea that I am enough is really coming around this time. So this week, I was watching a webinar, and if you know me, I attend webinars from the Institute of Noetic Science, and there was one on Friday, and it had a cognitive scientist. For those of you who know me, that I have my schooling, my education is in cognitive science, so I get really nerdy when it comes to those kinds of things. So I geek out when that comes on. So I'm like, yay! So the cognitive science comes on, and he starts talking about the nature of consciousness. And of course, nobody really knows. There's lots of hypotheses out there about the nature of consciousness and how that comes about. But his point of view was kind of a juxtaposition to what other people believe. And so he was talking about how from the consciousness of our own minds, our own hearts, our own bodies, and through our senses, that we create the world that we experience. That everything out there is not what's out there. What we see is what we project in the world, in essence. And he used a lot of scientific jargon and a lot of big words, but that's in essence, that's what he's talking about. That through our eyes, through our senses, we are experiencing the world that we agree is there. All of us agree that a chair looks like a chair, but our senses, like, so I have a brown chair in front of me. So does that color brown looks the same for Curtis or Sharon as it does for me? Everyone has their own experience of what reality is. And consciousness then is like a computer game. So it's say that you had a virtual headset and you put it on your head, and then you started seeing this world that wasn't there a moment ago. because now you're immersed in this world. And he says that is kind of like our consciousness. When our brain is set into our experience, so we're playing a game and we're driving a car, and the car is red and the car is green, we do not know the difference between what's actually out there and what we're projecting. So using the analogy of the video game, so when we're playing a video game, we're completely immersed. We see a green car. We see that we're driving this car. We see the steering wheel. We're doing all the things we need to do to interact in the game to be able to move forward and being immersed in this experience. However, in reality, behind what's behind our consciousness and the senses that we are experiencing, the only thing that's going on is the mechanism within the game system. The game system has the nodes and the electrical components that make it work, and the programming of the system itself. But it isn't really a red car. It isn't really a green car. It is what we experience in our minds. So I thought that's another way of looking at it. You know, our world is a projection of what it is that we believe and what we're experiencing. So I thought, wow, that's really cool. And then I got to think about what it is what we're talking about in the Four Agreements. And so in essence, what we're doing each and every time that we use the Four Agreements, we are creating a new reality for ourselves. We are talking about, when he was talking about when he was in the article, he was talking about every time you read the book, you have a different experience. Are the words different each time you read the book? No, they're the same words that he wrote originally, but our consciousness is grasping a different concept. It's seeing this different point of view, or we may have a deeper understanding of it. So in essence, our brains are creating our reality. Our consciousness, what we focus on, is creating what we want. And so the Four Agreements gives us these guideposts, or these little bookmarks that allow us to do the things that we want to do and experience what we want to experience in our lives by giving these little prompts. And each time you learn about these agreements, you may be prompted in a different direction. So we are creating our reality each and every time we learn something new, and we start to see something different. So many of you are familiar with the book. You're reading it now. If you're part of the book club, or you've read it previously, or you're reading it like me for the umpteenth time. It is very in line with what Unity believes, what we teach here at Unity. These teachings speak to this universal human journey that we awaken to truth, we experience and share love, and we have a new sense of inner freedom. So doesn't that really sound like what we teach here at Unity? That's what Don Miguel is teaching in his book, The Four Agreements. The principles here at Unity, they're not dogma, they're not rules. They are spiritual practices. It's a way of being in the world. And that frees us from suffering, and it leads us down a path of becoming more whole. So today, we're going to talk more about the Four Agreements and how that harmonizes with already what we know in Unity, and to help us get down the path of our own spiritual growth that may be different than what we were experiencing before. So the first agreement that I just spoke about just a moment ago is, excuse me, be impeccable with your word. This first agreement is the foundation of everything that he's talking about when he moves forward. He writes, the word is the most powerful tool you have as a human. It is the tool of magic. So that's the thing about that. When we talk about tools of magic, when we learn about spell casting, for example, what is that? Well, we know that the word spelling, when our words, comes from that idea that when we speak, we are creating. And so this spoken word, or these words that we say, are tools of magic. So he's not talking just about being nice or honest. He's talking about the creative power that we have with our words. So there is one presence and one power. Isn't that what we hear in unity? So every time we say that, when there's one presence and one power, we know that God, the good, is there with us. And so we affirm that our thoughts and our words have this creative power. It was originally Charles Fillmore who said that, that our thoughts carry energy. And we know that whenever we set our intention, when we say something, then it becomes something. Myrtle Fillmore said, "You do not have a problem except the one that's in your own mind, and you put it there." So she's saying that the thoughts that we have in our minds that become our words are something that we've placed there ourselves, that we have control over what we say and what we do and how we respond. And so I'd like you to think about all of the times in your experience where you have casually said something to yourself that may not have been something that you wanted to hear. How about the time you said, "Oh, that was so stupid, I shouldn't have done that." Or, "I'm never going to get this right, I just can't do it." Or another one, "I'm too old, too broken, too tired, too sick, too something." When we're being impeccable with our words, we mean that we are in agreement that something is pulling forth from us. So we don't have to agree with those lies that we're telling ourselves. We need to remember the words that we're saying to ourselves are not impeccable. We need to remember those are words that we probably wouldn't say to someone else. And if we do want to say them to somebody else, maybe we should look at that. Why are we doing that? So being impeccable with our words means not agreeing with the lies that we tell ourselves about how terrible we are, how we're not doing enough, or how we aren't enough. It means that we're affirming the truth of our spiritual identity. In unity, we say, "I am a divine expression of God." So when we speak from that awareness, our words heal, they uplift, and they bless us each and every time we choose the words that are comforting, that are supportive, instead of those negative things that we tell ourselves. Now, again, we're not going to be perfect with this. It's not something we're going to learn and never say anything negative about ourselves, because that's the nature of the brain. The brain is always trying to perfect itself, to get better, to evolve. But it's about getting in alignment. It's being mindful about what you're saying. So when we're impeccable with our words, we live from that inner source of divine nature. We speak from love. And isn't that the point of why we're here? At least we believe that in unity. Agreement number 2, don't take anything personally. So I meet with a therapist once a month, and I'm very open about mental health and creating and allowing mental health therapy into our lives, and making that as normative as going to your regular doctor. Everybody has things that they're dealing with, and I think therapy is important. So I'm very open about my therapy. So one thing I talked to my therapist about this last time, and he sent me a note just the other day, which I thought was so sweet, because he's working on with me setting boundaries. I think that's something that we all have to look at every once in a while. So I'm setting boundaries. And so I love the fact that he said to me, he says, "You know, your boundaries, you agree to give and give and give, and to love other people. And that is what you value. You value giving and loving and caring for others. However, it is not necessarily what other people want to do. So when you give love to someone, sometimes it's not reciprocated, because that is their past. That is their thought. So I'm not to take that personally, because it's not about me. Not in that instance. When they do not reciprocate, that means that's on them. That's their responsibility. That's their locus of control. So when in the second agreement, we talk about don't take anything personally. So that can be really tough. especially for me, who wants to be compassionate, wants to be kind, wants to feel that love come back to me. And I always grew up, when I grew up as a kid, always do to others as you want done unto you, is what I learned in Sunday school. So that became a mantra for me. If I am kind to someone else, I want to treat them exactly the way I want to be treated. And so I do that. And when I don't receive that, I can take it personally. I don't know if you've ever done that for yourself. If you've done something or felt something or said something and someone said something back or didn't do what you wanted or said something that was offhand and you took it personally. Maybe if you think of it, like my therapist said, it's not you. Maybe it's them. Maybe it's something that they're angry about. Maybe it's something that they're hurting about inside. So we can take it on and feel that we failed or that we're unworthy, but we don't have to, because obviously they're going through something that they need to work through. Don Miguel says, nothing others do is because of you. What others say or do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. So unity teaches us that as well, that we are divine expressions, but we're unique in ourselves. We do not express the same as someone sitting next to us or the people that we love. We express differently, even though we share maybe even the same household. We're all different. We create our experiences through our thoughts and our activities and our feelings and our belief systems, and everyone has a little bit different of a belief system or a thought. So when someone gets upset with you, lashes out, for example, it reflects their inner world, not yours. So when someone praises you, that also is their perception of you. So when we're seeking praise from someone else, we're seeking their opinion. But see, the thing is, when we take things personally, their opinion can affect who we are. And when we live in that world of looking for someone else to praise and to lift us up, then we can end up being disappointed. And it can interfere with how it is we feel about ourselves. The Gospel of John, Jesus talks about this. He said, I do not accept glory from human beings. So that's a profound statement, meaning that he was celebrating and practicing spiritual detachment, but he was also looking at the fact that he wasn't taking whatever was being said about him or said to him personally, because he knew who he was. He was able to be centered in himself. He knew his divine essence. He knew that he was doing what he needed to do for himself. And he knew he was enough because he told himself that he was enough. He wasn't looking for that validation outside of himself. So when we practice not taking things personally, we practice non-attachment. We remember that we are beyond judgment, but we're also beyond praise. We're beyond the ego at that point, because we are practicing our own spiritual maturity. We are allowing ourselves to be compassionate and not reactive. We're doing everything from that source within, that divinity that we carry with us. And so when we work through that and we don't take things personally, that means that we're relying on ourselves, that divine self, to lift us up. And we know that going back to the first agreement, being impeccable with our words helps us get there. Agreement number 3, don't make assumptions. So again, we're going to go back to the previous 2. These agreements go hand in hand with each other, if you haven't noticed. They kind of build on each other. So Don Miguel says we have the tendency to make assumptions about everything because we don't have the courage to ask the questions. So have there been times in your life where you have been afraid to ask the question? Maybe because you didn't want to sound like you were ignorant or stupid. Again, that negative self-talk, that impeccability of your word was not there. So what happens when we're not willing to ask the questions, and when we're too embarrassed or too timid or too shy or too whatever we call ourselves, when we're not willing to step out and say and ask the questions that need to be asked, then we start to assume. We start to assume that we have the answer when we probably don't, because we go back to, we do not know what's going on in someone else's mind. We can presume, we can assume, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're right. So when we are in a conflict, for example, and we then start assuming what the person we're in conflict with believes certain things about us. So, for example, well, they might be mad at me. Or because they didn't say hello to me, they must not like me. Or they should have known what I needed without me having to say so. That's a big assumption. How many times do we do that? Especially with our partners or our family members. Well, they know me. They should assume, they should know what I need. Some assumptions are just stories that we tell ourselves. Unity teaches us that what we focus on expands and it becomes our reality. If I focus on a story of rejection, for example, from someone else, I'll look for and find evidence that that's what's happening. But if I decide to ask the question and speak directly, then I create a connection and open up communication to get a better understanding. Unity's third principle says we create our life experiences through our way of thinking. When we make assumptions, we confuse the illusion that what we're thinking is our reality. So that goes back to what I was talking to you about, the projection of our reality. So when we start thinking of our experiences, our thoughts, and we think that Jimmy is mad at us, then we start to project that out into the world. And we start seeing those things that tell us that that person is mad at us. But in actuality, that's an illusion. That's something that we've thrown out there that's incorrect, or we do not have all of the pieces or all of the facts to support what's happening. So when we live consciously and courageously, we can remove that veil of misunderstanding. We can ask the questions instead of assuming. When we make assumptions, we usually do that out of fear. So again, going back to, well, they must be mad at me, or this must be going on, or we go down this rabbit hole of negativity. And then we're going back to our words being not impeccable when we're going down that negativity rabbit hole. We have fear, maybe fear of vulnerability, fear of being wrong, fear of asking the wrong questions, fear of disappointment. All of these things can be part of that assumption. We make assumptions because we're afraid. Unity invites us to live in faith instead of fear. So faith that people are doing the best that they can from their point of view. Faith that love can bring understanding when there was before misunderstanding. And faith that we are enough, even in moments of unclarity, when we're not quite sure. Don Miguel encourages us to communicate clearly, to ask questions, and be willing to see that things may be different than what we assume, and maybe what we're afraid of. And so when we do that, we set ourselves and the people around us free when we remove those assumptions. So it sounds pretty simple when we decide that that is what we're going to be doing. We're just going to stop assuming. Well, we're not perfect. So the fourth agreement is covering that. The fourth agreement is always do your best. So this is the key, he says, to integrating all the other three agreements. Under any circumstances, he says, always do your best, no more and no less. So that sounds simple. Sounds like I'll do my best. We grew up with that intention. we'd continue that intention in our lives. Sometimes we get caught up in the busyness and the influence of what's happening in other people's thought processes. But we always try to do our best. In Unity, we affirm that we are always in this process of spiritual growth. We are never at the finish line of growth. We continue to grow all through our lives. And there is no bell curve. You know, we are constantly on the spectrum of change. It is this moment, then into the next moment, into the next moment, into the next moment, but we're always in the present moment. We always do what's best for us right now. We can't get caught up in what happened before, because that's not what's influencing what's happening now. We can't allow that, because that's already passed. We can't fix that. And we can't allow what's going to happen or what could happen or we assume could influence us in the future, because we don't know what the future is going to bring. So we have to stay present in this moment each and every time. And always doing our best is about staying present and showing up and having the intention to be loving, to be kind, to be compassionate. And even when we're tired and we're sick, or we're struggling or grieving, and when we're unsure, we need to sit with that and be with that and know this is where I am supposed to be right now. And what can I be completely present with? Don Miguel reminds us that your best changes from moment to moment. So when you're healthy and when you're happy and when you're rested, your best looks energetic, excited, willing. When you're in pain, or you're processing grief, or you're struggling in some way, your best may look just enough. This is what I have right now. This is all I have right now. And you have to be okay with that, because that is what you have the capacity for right in this moment. You are always enough. You're doing the best that you can, and that is enough. Unity's fifth principle is knowing and understanding the laws of life that we call truth. We know that a person must live their truth in each and every moment. Doing your best is how to live in that truth in each and every moment. It's how you embody each experience as the divine within your human form. You don't believe in love. You become love. You just don't affirm peace. You become that peace. And if you're experiencing struggle, then surrender to that struggle, because that is what's happening right now. It's not just about your spiritual teachings. It's about the truth that you know deep inside, past everything that's in your reality that you see right now. You know that divine spark, that essence is right there with you each and every moment and will help you wherever you are. So whether you're happy and healthy or struggling and sick today, know that you are supported and continually evolving, and be okay with that, because that is enough for now. And when you get into the next moment, you can see if you have something else that's available to you. But right now, that's enough. You are enough. And apply that to your life. So let's take a moment with that and let's sit. Take a breath. And all four agreements, they're not just ideas. That's what we experience. And when we take that into consideration, when we take in all of this advice that Don Miguel gives to us, we are invited. We're invited to this idea of living from integrity, from awareness, from compassion, and to be courageous in this world. All of the agreements call us to allow that divine spark within to bubble up. It allows us to be impeccable with our words. because we know that our words create our realities. We don't take things personally because we are not we're not defined by someone else. We don't make assumptions because our clarity and our love grow from within. And so we create honest connections. We ask the questions and we allow the conversation to flow freely without judgment. And we always do our best because our presence and the presence with others is sacred. And we know that our effort in every moment is enough. If you practice at least one of these, he says your life will change. And I agree with that. Every time we practice something that brings us to the center of our being, to allows us to connect with that divine source, we change. We do something different. And when we change what it is we're feeling inside, we start to experience a different reality outside of us. We start to see things differently, and things look and are very different. I go back to when I was talking about that cognitive scientist earlier and how we project our realities, and what's out there isn't what we're seeing, it's what we are sensing and allowing ourselves to be in the world. And isn't that a beautiful thing? Because then we become the creators of our realities. Then we know that our words are important, that our assumptions are not correct, that we do not need to take somebody else's point of view personally, that we know the truth within us because we are always enough. It's not about allowing ourselves to be in a space where we're pretending. That's not what I'm asking at all. Because it's not about pretending. It's about coming from our truth. And what is that truth that's bubbling up inside of you, that's allowing yourself to be present in this world? When we live these 4 agreements, we become the channel of this collective energy, this living and healing and loving that we want to experience. We become kinder and we listen better and we are honest and we're living our truth. We contribute to the world in a very different way when we are very authentic and where compassion and truth guides us and we are living from that space of love. So this week, as you move forward, I ask you to pick one. Pick one, at least one of those agreements, and allow it to be your source of your guide this week. So you can say for yourself, I will be impeccable with my word, or I won't take anything personally today. I will speak clearly and won't make assumptions and ask the right questions. I will do my best. Whatever that looks like, I am enough. So notice that each and every time you say this to yourself and you start to allow this to be part of your thought process, you'll notice in the world that things start to change. You start to see different things, and you start to see that you're living your authentic self and you're free to do so. It's not about getting it right. It's about staying awake to who you truly are. It's about living from your true self. And this week, I'd just like you to focus on one of those and make it important and see how that changes your week. The journey of awakening isn't about striving to be someone else or to worry about what other people think. It's about remembering who you already are and to be present with that in each and every moment. You're a radiant expression of God in each and every moment. You are powerful, you are creative, you're wise, you're knowledgeable, you're capable. You're here to live truth each and every moment, to speak with love, to live with compassion, and walk your truth in this world. So allow these agreements to give you a different perspective, maybe opening a door that was closed previously. Let your life begin with the words that are impeccable. Allow yourself to be courageous and to be open. And so it is. We're going to go into meditation. So I'm going to get that ready for you. So get comfortable and we'll go into a meditation on impeccable, well, all the 4 agreements actually. Begin by finding a comfortable position. Allow your spine to be tall but relaxed. Gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a deep breath in and slowly release it. Let yourself arrive in this moment. Take a few more deep breaths. Inhaling peace, exhaling tension. Inhaling love, exhaling anything that no longer serves. Allow your body to soften. Let your mind settle. And allow your heart to open. We're going to focus on the first agreement. Be impeccable with your words. Bring your attention to your throat, the center of expression. Imagine a gentle light there, soft, glowing, pure. And as you focus on that area, repeat silently, "My words are powerful. I speak with integrity and love." Feel the vibration of truth in that affirmation. Know that your words create your world. Each thought, each sentence is a prayer in motion. Today you choose words that heal, uplift, and bless. Take a moment to breathe that in. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. Bring your awareness this time to your heart center. Feel the warmth, the presence, and the strength that's here. Repeat silently to yourself, "I am rooted in truth. I am not defined by others, their words, or their actions." Imagine a gentle shield of light around your heart, allowing in love, but at the same time releasing anything that doesn't serve your highest good. You're not responsible for the stories others carry. You're responsible for your own peace. You stand firm in your divine identity, whole and free. Breathe that in. The third agreement, don't make assumptions. Now shift your awareness to your forehead, your center of wisdom. Imagine a clear and radiant light here, opening your insight and understanding. Repeating silently, I choose clarity over assumption. I seek truth with courage and compassion. Release the need to know everything. Release the stories your mind creates. Open your heart to curiosity. You are willing to ask, to listen, to see with spiritual eyes. You are safe in truth, so breathe that in. The fourth agreement: always do your best. Now bring your awareness to your entire being, body, mind, and spirit. Feel the energy of presence surrounding and filling your entire being. Repeat silently, I do my best with love, with grace, and with compassion. That is enough. Your best may look different from day to day, and that's okay. What matters is your intention, your sincerity, and your willingness to show up as your true self. You are enough. You are doing enough. And you are whole as you are. And just breathe that in. Take a few deep breaths, feeling your whole body, your whole self, bathed in light and love. And allow these four agreements to become not just ideas, but ways of being. You speak truth. You release the need for approval. You live with clarity. And you walk with integrity. Let this be your prayer, your practice, and your peace. And as we come to this end of meditation, slowly bring your awareness back to your body, starting to feel all the physical attributes of your body. You feel the surface you are sitting on. And you take a deep breath in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Taking another deep breath in and offer gratitude for the wisdom that's within you. You are awake. You are empowered. You are free. And so it is. So as we're coming out of meditation, I would like to send us off with a benediction. But before we do that, and as we're in this space of blessing and in prayer, I'd like us to send blessings to each other. So just rub your hands together, holding your hands up, sending blessings, divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful for my blessings today, and I am grateful in every way. And so it is. Amen. And as we go off in our benediction for today, as we leave this time together, let's carry the wisdom of the four agreements deep within our hearts. May our words be a seed of truth and kindness. May we remember that nothing others do is truly about us. May we walk in clarity, free from assumptions, and may we do our best, not to strive, but to honor our truth and the divine spark within. Let's move forward, grounded in love and light, centered in our truth, and empowered to live with spiritual integrity. And as we live these agreements, allow us to become a light and love for others, a reflection of wholeness and peace, and allow the presence of the divine become visible in the world through you. And so it is. Amen. So this is the time where we have our time together. I'm going to remove the spotlight and we can talk about